it's more than iconic in a way, in that it's the benchmark of something that's great.
If your heart is telling you you want to be a designer, listen to that heart and do it.
What does it mean to go beyond, to go further than expected, to raise the bar, to defy limits?
In this podcast series, we unleash the game-changing stories that take Lamborghini beyond the status quo.
And meet extraordinary people across the world who go beyond convention to forge their own incredible journeys. My name is Giulia Salvi.
And I'm Tim Bravo.
Together, we are your hosts, and this is Beyond, a Lamborghini podcast.
What makes design truly iconic? Giulia, today we're being joined by two artists who I think know one thing or two about creating landmark visual identities.
And I'm also quite happy because we're going to talk a lot about music. So let's start with the first guest, which is Simon Halfon, which is the graphic designer behind so many music covers that became legendary. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
And alongside Simon, we have Lamborghini's own chief of design, Mitja Borkert, the man responsible for many iconic Lamborghini supersports cars of the past, present, and of course as well of the future. Also from my side, hello to the both of you.
Hello, also a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Let's start talking about music, because I want to start by music. And how much is it important in your life and especially your work? How much does music influence your design?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, music has always been a part of my life as a kid, and going into design was something that I did almost by accident, because I'd left university prematurely, shall we say, and I decided I wanted to work in the music business. I had no connections other than that summer I had met a gentleman called Cosmo Vinyl. And Cosmo Vinyl was kind of like the right-hand man for The Clash. And I loved The Clash. And I just bumped into him in the street and I got all excited. He was this kind of larger-than-life figure. And got chatting to him, and he just happened to mention in passing that he was working out of Stiff Records, which was the kind of number one independent record label at the time. This is sort of around about the time of punk and new wave. And so I thought, great, I'm connected. You know, this is months later. So I turned up at Stiff Records and they said, yeah, can I help you? And I said, I've come to see Cosmo. And he said, well, he doesn't come in every day. And when he does, he comes in the afternoon. So anyhow, that day, as luck would have it, about 45 minutes later, he walks in and he sort of looks at me thinking, I half recognize that face. And I said, oh, hi, Cosmo, I've come to see you. And he said, how can I help you? So he takes me into the post room. And I said, well, I want to come and work for you. And he said, well, the Clash aren't doing anything at the moment. I'm not earning. And he said, hold on a minute. So he goes out the room, comes back in 5 minutes later, and he says, do you want to work here? And I said, great. So I started off working in the post room at Stiff Records. So it's a very long answer, but I kind of started off in the post room and then by default and with no training ended up in the art department.
Wow.
So I sort of didn't really know much about art or design, but I kind of was thrown in at the deep end.
What was your age at the time?
I was 18, 19. Yeah, so I was young, yeah.
Mitja, how about you? Because leaving cars aside for 1 second, I know it's difficult for you, but leaving it aside, I would describe you as being a family man, loving your bikes and loving music, because you travel all the time to concerts all around the world. Let us know a little bit about this passion, where it comes from and how it inspires you.
Now let's go back to the 80s, no? Because I think I was at the time, I'm a little bit younger, but at the time I think I was consuming the stuff, the music and the artwork from the other side of the curtain, because I was in the 80s. Because I'm born in East Germany in the GDR, so I needed to find creative ways to listen to music and to also get the albums that I like, and also the magazines, of course. So it's a bit the same with my cars, because I discovered basically Lamborghini after the curtain came down in the 90s. So, and it's a bit the same with some things about the music. I was always consuming music. Music is basically part in every single sketch. Music is part in every single line, in every surface that we design. So because in the end of the day, when you sit there sketch, when you sit there on the computer, you always listen to some music. and for sure a lot of artists, and for sure a lot of album covers, and for sure a lot of also images of that period have always influenced my creative work. I was even, because I could never buy this stuff, no, so I needed. I was even redrawing the album covers myself, no, because in East Germany we were listening to the radio stations of West Berlin, the SFB, the Sender Freies Berlin, and the RIAS, the radio in the American sector. And I was always sitting there in the evening with my recorder and, taping them, recording the music that I like. So, and the artwork of the cover sleeves, I was always copying with myself, sketching myself on the tapes. Yeah, so that's my connection to start with the music of that period.
And you ended up working for Lamborghini, which is a cult, such as the Depeche Mode, which is a passion that we all have in common, I think.
I mean, I was in the 80s. I have a brother that is almost 10 years older than me, and he was driving me crazy with AC/DC at the time. That I now love. It's one of my favorite bands too. But at the time, I was too young to understand the music, so I was always stopping his music, and then he was starting again, and then we were fighting at home, yeah, like brothers do. So, but and I was listening to all this music that you have in mind from the 80s, but there was always one band different. There was, exchangeable music, pop music at that time, but then there was Stripped of Depeche Mode that was like a spaceship arriving in the radio station, and that song was magic. And then they created in this period Never Let Me Down Again, Behind the Wheel, all these musics, and it was timeless. Yeah. So just recently, 2 days ago, they played in New York, and they played Black Celebration, that they played in a version that it's like today, no? But the song is from '86, and that was always the timelessness of this music. And the part that is a cult band, it's not a band for everyone. Now, these days, it's fascinating that they are, playing in big stadiums. But in the 80s, they were more like for the kids in the corner, no, in the class. So they were a bit more special. But I always loved them since '84, since '85, I think, at the time.
It's like a religion,
yes.
We should say.
Yes.
How about you, Simon? Are you as well joining in on that passion? Can you relate to that?
Not perhaps with Depeche Mode as such, but certainly there are bands that have touched me and that I've
Which
stayed
ones?
with.
What's your cult?
Oh, I mean, dare I say it, it's the Beatles for me is the kind of touchstone, and that's been the massive influence on me, even from a design point of view. The first record that I was given by my grandparents was Beatles for Sale, which kind of had a gatefold sleeve, and I pored over that album cover, and I copied that album cover, the style of it, because it was a gatefold sleeve where the record went inside from the middle rather than a traditional one. So I copied that with working with Paul Weller. We did that, and we did it again even earlier with Paul Weller with the Style Council. And I even remember, even before I worked with George Michael, he was sort of influenced by the Style Council, Stephen. He did that with his first solo single, which was I Want Your Sex. It had that same kind of packaging. So the Beatles have always been a massive, massive influence for me. And, I still never tire of kind of reading, watching. I'm like a little boy when I kind of listen and look at the Beatles.
Do you have any story, the both of you, any story where you can relate a piece of art or something that you created directly to a song? Mitja, for example, you talked about Depeche Mode being spaceship music. I hear that very often when you talk about your car design. So you say you create spaceships. Is there some relationship between the music and the cars?
No, it's a way to describe it. I mean, the spaceship comparison came to my mind because I really... In my life, at least, I can tell you special songs. I can tell you where I was when I heard this song for the first time, and it must have had an impact. No, I mean, these days you have a lot of music, and a lot of music that is immediately sticking like a rhythm in your head. Also, the music of today is also very strong, but let's say in the 70s, 80s, 90s, to me it seems like. those bands or those artists, they discovered sometimes new paths, and they were there was new technology that the bands were using, and there was also a lot of character, because you can take Joy Division, for example, or Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They were having their own DNA character. This is what it was always fascinating me, and let's say something that is maybe that I'm looking for these days. Yeah, characters. And in Lamborghini, to come back to Lamborghini, for sure, Lamborghini is a character itself that is sticking out from all the other cars. And I personally, I just discovered this a little bit later than the usual. I used to have the Countach on my bedroom wall poster kit. I was, as I say, born in East Germany, but different because I didn't know about those cars. Yeah, but for me, let me say, we have this desperate wish to always create something new, something that is unseen, that is creating a new spaceship, a new design. That's what is driving me.
Which is your favorite piece from your portfolio?
Well, for me, it's getting on it's over 30 years old. It was working with George Michael on the Listen Without Prejudice album cover, because for me, it's still a really strong album cover. I don't know if you remember it. It's a kind of Coney Island shots taken by Ouija in 1939 of a million people on the beach. And we just used a section of it, but it really kind of, for me, it brings back such fond memories of working with George, because he was genuinely one of the good guys, and it's a really fabulous record. So when the music's good, or when the music's great, it kind of elevates the design, if you like, because all of a sudden that design becomes iconic, not because of the look of the record sleeve, it's the music that accompanies it. And for me, that was a sort of a magical time, working with him. And we both lived in Los Angeles shortly afterwards, and kind of spent a lot of time in each other's company with all the various singles like Freedom that came afterwards. And it was just a really kind of joyous time. But I feel that that's kind of a genuine kind of iconic, not through anything I did, I'm not taking any credit for it, but it became an iconic album cover because it's such a great album.
I mean, for myself, it's not so easy to answer, but I mean, for my previous life, I worked before at Porsche. I would take the Porsche Macan. I was a very young designer. The car came out 2013, and it is now 10 years on the market, and it seems timeless. And for me, maybe this is the link to Depeche Mode with the timeless music. So I'm looking for something that is timeless but exciting. Of course, the recent Lamborghinis, I let the fans, I let the experts judge this. Of course, let's say, I'm very proud on the Revuelto. I'm very proud. There's one picture that we have that is taken from the rear view of the car, slightly above, and the background is all orange. The car's orange, but the background also, and it looks like a spaceship or like a jet fighter starting. And let's say, of course, I'm looking always for the perfect design, but then I'm always looking also that the visual of that design is done in the perfect way. So every sketch has to look perfect, of course, but then in the end of the day, we're influencing the final design also with the perfect picture, let me say. And even sometimes from 20, 30, 40 pictures, maybe there's just one that is the one where you say, this is the statement that I wanted to give.
Simon, I hope you don't mind me asking one personal and maybe a little bit sentimental question, but you've been recently been acting as a producer as well of a documentary, Wham!, about George Michael. What do you miss about the person, George Michael?
Well, he was a good friend, and a very good friend, and we were friends for many, many years. And the kind of Andrew Ridgeley came to me wanting to make a documentary to kind of tie in with his memoir, which was a few years ago. And I said the same thing to him that I said to Noel Gallagher when he wanted to do something that was celebrating the 20th anniversary of Nebworth. I said that this is a bigger story. This is a kind of feature film length stories, because as with Oasis, Wham were very much a phenomenon. 1982, they're still at school, and 1986, they play their last gig at Wembley Stadium, and they conquer the whole world in between. And I wanted to do something that kind of celebrated his memory and and reminded people, or even people that didn't get that sense of him, of just how warm and funny and kind he was. And that was the goal in making that film, and that's seems to have been what the reaction is, that people really have enjoyed seeing their friendship, because it's a film about friendship, and just having these two guys, because it's just their two voices telling the story. You know, it's very touching, because you really get a sense of George's character, the warmth and sort of care and the love that he had, and also his humor. So, you know, I'm pleased that it turned out as well as it did, and that it's kind of struck a chord with people. But that was always my goal, is just to do something that celebrated him and remembered him in that way.
Those are lovely words. Thanks, Simon.
And talking about your jobs, which is the biggest challenge you have ever faced in your career?
On occasion, working with Oasis was a challenge, kind of design-wise. It was a challenge, not personality-wise, because when you were working with Oasis, and I worked with them for the best part of 10 years, but I was friends with them first, which made it easier. But there were those moments where there was an album called Heathen Chemistry, and we spent a week in Paris doing a photo session with them, like on the hoof for a whole week. And it was in February. And I remember saying to both of them, I said, you know, February in Paris can be wet. Oh no, I'm up for that, mad for it. And so it's like, okay, so we get there, and it was like the longest week of any of our lives. The two brothers weren't speaking to each other. And as soon as we kind of went out to and we did it with a photographer called Andrew McPherson, who's one of the best. And I'd worked with Andrew before, he'd worked with George, and great photographer. And each time, literally, we'd go out, they'd be walking with these umbrellas. And we can't really do a photo session of a band for an album cover with them with umbrellas. And then all of a sudden, they'd see Liam would see a bar and Guinness, real Guinness served here. And it's like, he's gone. So it's just like, oi. So that was a difficult one. And then we got all the pictures back. And Andrew did a fantastic job. Noel looked at them, didn't like any of them. So then Noel picked the one shot, which was kind of like a blurred image of them in the metro, and said, that's the album cover. The others saw it and go, no, I don't like it. And so I would get a call from Noel saying, I'll speak to our kid, he doesn't like the album cover. And so you always felt like you were a marriage counselor at the same time as having to come up with a visual for what was their next record. And so Liam and the rest of them said, listen, come up with some other options and we can show them to Noel. So I came up with like 10 options of what the alternatives could be with these great shots that we had. And I went down to the rehearsals and got halfway through, they had a little break, and I said, I've got some stuff to show you. I've got some ideas to show you. Noel opened the envelope, went through one by one like that, and then just said at the end of it, I don't see any ideas here, and just gave me back the envelope. So that's kind of, you laugh at it.
Noel.
Yeah, you laugh at it, but it wasn't about the record sleeves, it was about whatever the politics was going on between them. But then it blew over and it was all fine. And that was the thing, as I say, 95% of the time you were with him, you're kind of laughing and it's really good fun. But every now and again, you get that moment where it's like in a Western where you're in a bar and all of a sudden everyone pulls away and the barman turns the mirror down and kind of creeps down behind the bar because it's about to go off. But it was all good fun. But that was my one time where you just think, oh, come on, guys, let's do something good here.
Mitja, how frustrating is car design? Is that similarly political or a little bit more straightforward?
Car design, there's passion. In German, we say Leidenschaft, yeah, and that all the German-speaking will understand. So it's also something that is creating some difficulties, yeah. So in the end of the day, there's a car. Not everyone is happy. Cars these days have a lot of, in the Instagram world, you have so many people immediately criticizing the stuff and so on. Yeah. So in the end of the day, car design is for sure a dream job, and it's absolute fun to create the things, but you need to have a skin that is also quite thick, and I think you will recognize this basically in every period when you want to become a car designer, but then until you create your first car or whatever. Yeah. So you have moments in life where I can always say to the young guys that are now, they want to be a car designer, you need to, if your heart is telling you want to be a designer, listen to that heart and do it. Yeah. You need to, of course, you need to have the talent, but I think the ones knows. But you will always face difficult moments where you cry, you're disappointed, but you need to stand up the next day and you need to continue, and you fail and then you do better. And I did next year I will be 25 years a professional car designer, and I can tell you I had a lot of moments where you need to stand up again. Yeah. So but in the end of the day, that makes even, of course, then the big successes, even for yourself, stronger. Yeah? Because then you say, cool, this car we have created, the people appreciate, or in the end of the day, it's about the customer, and when the things are sold out. Yeah, so this is quite fulfilling moment. Then in the end of the day. But in car design, I don't want to go into specific topics, but there's a lot of moments where you say, okay, let me sleep about it. Yeah, so, but the strong ones, they stand up and continue.
Which are the emotions and feelings that you want to show through your car designing?
Yeah, I'm taking any brand that I'm designing for, I take with a big respect. In the end of the day, it's not the Mitja that I'm designing, it's the Lamborghini that I'm designing. So I'm looking very carefully on the cars that the brand did, and of course then I have my fantasy and my imagination on how it could look like and should look like. And then in the end of the day, it is of course then always depending on the team, not your team in design, but all the team, all the board, everyone that is deciding this new product. I can go towards the future if I'm also strong enough explaining what I have in mind and how well I can explain this to my board, and then as much as I can do this, we are walking into the future. So in the end of the day, it's a big team doing the things, and I'm just the spark moving forward. Yeah, so it's about a DNA. In Lamborghini, it's basically quite easy because we have that fantastic spaceship DNA given from the Countach. But then, of course, you need to understand what is that DNA, and then you always want to move ahead, transporting this legend into the future, creating something unexpected, something that looks new again.
I sort of I can see that completely, because designing a record sleeve is very much a kind of collaboration, and you're there to help the artists, because at the end of the day, it's the recording artist's vision and it's their music. So you're there, even if you present them with a dozen ideas and they pick the one that's your least favorite as the one to go with, you still you might be disappointed because you think, oh, that one's better, but you'll kind of still want to make the best of your least favorite to achieve the best. It is very much a collaboration. All the artists pretty much across the board that I've worked with have had a vision. Very few of them have said, I haven't got any idea, you just come up with something. They'll say, listen, I've got this little bit of an idea, and it's you kind of helping develop that idea into something that, at best will be iconic, but at the very least will be something that they're proud of and you're proud of.
Iconic, of course, is a lot of times if it is really recognizable. No, I think in a record store where you have, I don't know how many thousands of album sleeves. Of course, first of all, the good music needs to stick out, but then also the album sleeve or the album cover needs to stick out and needs to have a strong statement. I think that's the challenge about it.
Yeah, I agree.
But nowadays there's so much music. So it's like they're putting less effort, less money, less work in the search of the perfect cover. And it's the same with cars. There are so many cars. So can we say that streaming music is like renting a car, while we all have to find, like the legend, the iconic album or the iconic car, the cult?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I think when I was growing up and going to school, if you saw a kid walk into school with a bag with a record in it on a Monday, you go, "What's in the bag?" You kind of, a record was something that you kind of poured over. You looked at the album cover, you looked at the sleeve notes, you looked at the lyrics, you looked at the photos, because there was still a mystique around music then, and that was your kind of contact with the band. You might see them on television, or you might see them live, or you'll read about them in the music papers, but you couldn't just look at them on YouTube or Google something and have it right in front of you. So if you saw a grainy black and white picture of a band and you think, "Oh God, what are those shoes they're wearing? What's that jacket they're wearing?" It was so kind of important. And so the record sleeve in a way became your connection to the band. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that's probably gone now, because it's, everything's the size of a stamp on, if anything, on a Spotify or whatever it is. So it's not as important, but thankfully there was a time when it was important, and it's sort of making a bit of a comeback, but it'll never be as it was. I remember like working with Oasis back in the day. I mean, their first week over-the-counter record sales would be, over 500,000. And now a band is lucky if they have an album that does 100,000 in the life of that album, physical units. That's regarded as a monumental success, whereas that was just back in the day, 6 times that was week one.
True that.
I remember when I was a teenager, there were plenty of music shows everywhere. I think in the UK, in Germany, you still have a lot of TV programs that are showing the videos, and so just I'm now older, I don't have the time to watch it enough. I still believe that there should be the opportunity even today to have a TV show or however show where you say, look at these 10 songs this week, they are super cool. This is the way also we discovered at the time our music, the tribe that you wanted to belong to, no? So, because it was also clear, who was listening to Depeche Mode was not belonging to this group, and in the 80s, all my friends were listening to heavy metal, no? So there
80s was very much a time of tribes.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So you are punk, or you are the Cure, or you were part. I was always a bit in between, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if I don't see this today too much.
I think today, I mean, there are obviously the exceptions with the Taylor Swifts and the Harry Styles as well. But I think for the most part, and maybe my kids would disagree, but I think kids are very much, they like songs. They're fans of songs rather than a fan of an artist. Where when we were younger, you kind of stick with an artist through thick and thin. You stick with them through that tricky second album or their tricky fourth album. You go with them. Whereas today, I think, if they don't like the next single, then they've kind of moved on to the next artist in a way.
There was also, I don't know if you agree, there was always, when the 80s, also when 89, 90, there was then immediately a shift. Some bands, they couldn't survive into the 90s, and on some bands was over, other could survive. Then there was the year 2000. People, some artists stopped, but then there was a new one. So I don't know if there is 2022, 2023, 2024 something.
But I think
after COVID, a kind of music. I don't know.
I think it's cyclical for all these bands. I think you get even someone like Paul McCartney in the 80s. He struggled, and I remember. I knew his manager from back then, and basically he said to him, "Paul, you've got to go out on the road. You've got to invent yourself because the records aren't selling. The records didn't have the impact." And every artist, I think David Bowie had that when he did the kind of Glass Spider tour. It didn't get good reviews, and I think he kind of was deflated by it. And we look back at these artists now and thinking they had a golden time, but everyone has that kind of dip. And it's just kind of natural, I guess, because they're not flavor of the month anymore. They're kind of seen as the old guys, whatever it is. It's if you can kind of weather that and come out the other side, then you become one of the greats, I think.
Yeah.
coming back to design 1 second too. You were speaking earlier about iconic design. What makes design iconic? Simon, I have you on record for once saying that good album covers are only ever iconic when they're attached to great albums. Mitja, is this something you can relate to in terms of car design? I mean, is a Lamborghini iconic as well because of the performance under the hood, or can this be seen independently?
Absolutely. I mean, a good design is nothing if the powertrain or the performance of the car is poor. So therefore, I mean, a Lamborghini is only as strong as it is because there is design and performance, and stronger than ever. Yeah, so therefore, you know, a complete car, like a complete pilot, is everything together. Good brakes, good engine, you know, forward-looking technology, plus a good design. This all is creating this special car.
How does this inspire you? Because when Simon said that, of course, he listens to the music when he then works on the album cover, which is a very logical connection. How do you do that? You cannot drive the car before you design the car, because design usually comes first.
I put a V12 in my office and then, you know, switch it on and, you know, just idling. No, I mean, yeah, it's a interesting question. I mean, you get into, in the end of the day, you want to create the new generation. So basically, you are getting in touch with your band members that are the engineers, you know, the aerodynamical designer, or, you know, or the package guys, also the guys that are telling you, what about the wheelbase, you know. So in the end of the day, it is as a designer also here, you know, you work with another band. And you need here a good bass player that is doing the engine, and you need to have, I don't know, the drummer that is, I don't know, that is beating the wind flow around the car. I don't know. So in the end of the day,
do you ever get like, you know, like bands do musical differences? Do you ever get?
So you're like the singer.
Are you the singer? I was about to ask.
I'm the singer. Yeah, can be. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think about it, but maybe I'm the singer. Yeah, for sure. In the end of the day, then I'm also. I mean, because we have to present the car, then I'm for sure the singer. Yeah, but you are.
We'll have you sing a song later.
But you are also the music manager, because you know you are also the guy that is, you know, connecting everyone. You know, you are in the designers then also in the background, because the car is then only as good as, you know, politically, whatever that means, but is kind of getting all the parties together. Huh? So, but maybe the designer is the singer. Let's put it this way.
I have a challenge for you guys, and it's not Mitja. Don't worry. It's not. I'm not going to ask you to sing. No, it was just a joke.
You are singing.
No. I'm
I'm
also not singing.
I'm singing just in the back.
Can you sing, Tim?
No, under the shower, in the car, actually. But how about the sketching challenge between the two of them? Julia, what do you think?
That's a good idea, because it's quite clear, Mitja, that you've got a strong relationship with music. But let's see if Simon has a strong relationship with cars as well. So the challenge is Simon has to design a car, and Mitja, you have to sketch the perfect album cover.
But we need to talk about what car
And
what album.
Yeah,
Sure you can.
You know.
As much as I feel, you know, I'm here with the maestro. It's a tricky, it's a tough act to follow.
Your dream car.
Dream car. I think we've got them behind us, haven't we?
Too easy.
No, it's not fair, actually. If I would have to sketch a car, it would really not be on the level of even a primary school art class.
Yeah, but this is not what it's about. I mean, in the end of the day, honestly, you know, sketching, I would never say that I personally, for example, that I'm the best sketcher in the world. You know, I improve my sketching every day with every new sketch. I would not say scared, but when you know, in Lamborghini we are sketching so many times, every time, especially in front of a camera, is always pressure. Because then I'm like, oh God, if I'm doing it wrong, then everyone is seeing that I'm not able to sketch. No, it's.
But Mitja, if you improve with every sketch, improve once more.
Yeah. I think we are not getting out of this, Simon.
No,
Let's.
no.
Yeah, I see yours.
Begrudgingly. I don't think this works. I can already tell this one's not going to work. But go on.
That's what you're hoping.
Oh,
there's the sketch already.
Fantastic. That worked out well, didn't it?
They didn't know that we have done this before. So So
Oh,
I'm sketching an album sleeve.
yeah.
So we need to.
I'll give you a little clue.
Okay.
They're easy. Take it from me if I can do it.
What?
That's it. You've done it. It's
It's
finished.
the Black Album.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Metallica, the Black Album, Back in Black.
Okay. Where do we go from here?
Can only repeat. My car. You wouldn't want to see my car sketch.
I do want to see it.
No.
You can use this.
I think Mitja's son sketches better cars than I do.
Oh, but
Let's see. Mitja is having a Lamborghini inspired album cover.
also my album is from the band the V12s. It's it's not so famous. It's a band from Los Angeles, downtown, and the album is called The Hex.
And Simon is just designing the fifth model line for Lamborghini.
Cool. Yeah, very good. Look. Compliments. Simon.
You have to sign your photo.
I don't know who had this idea.
You have to sign it still. It's not valid without the signature.
So the new album
Just
sleeve.
I love it.
Just in case
Yeah,
anyone
the
wonders.
V12s, the Hex.
Just in case anyone has to figure out what it is. Well, as luck would have it, I had a couple of minutes earlier and a very blunt pencil.
Here's the
And
pen. Here's the pen.
And I came up with this, and I don't know what you guys think of that. I think it could be a decent album
Marvelous.
cover. If I'd had a little bit more time on it. What do you think?
I love it. I think square format, more white. I think it's so recognizable.
It looks quite similar to your sketches, Mitja.
I mean, I teach them before,
Listen.
yeah? So it's
One thing I've never been accused of is being original. So I've always borrowed from someone.
no, but you go to the record store, you go through. I don't know what music could it be? What music you think?
No,
You guess,
go,
you
you
guess.
go. No, you go.
Oh.
You're the expert.
Is it pop? Is it rock?
Should we go? What about Duran Duran? That's, you can imagine 5 of them,
Because
5
of the blue.
Lamborghinis.
Because
of
of
the
the
blue
blue?
scenario. Or Jamiroquai.
Oh, Jamiroquai.
Jamiroquai,
Right, yeah.
yes, okay.
He's probably got.
Yes.
Mitja's happy.
Versions
Yeah, I'm
of these
happy.
cars,
No,
yeah.
Jamiroquai,
Yeah.
I'm happy. Cosmic Girl. The
Yeah.
album is called Cosmic Girl,
Yeah.
for sure.
And he'd be only too happy with these cars.
Absolutely,
I'm sure, wouldn't he?
absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Julia, you made Mitja very happy now. Just as you made him smile, just as you make many people smile, Mitja, with your designs.
I hope so. I hope
Let's
so.
see. For example, here, the ones that you're having in front of you, the Revuelto, also the car that is one of the two cars that is behind you. Tell us a little bit about what this car means to you in terms of design and what the inspiration was for it.
Yeah, but the Revuelto is for sure. I mean, with the Revuelto, we always want to make people smile. Yeah, this is the number one. We want to create a wow effect, and I think Revuelto was our biggest design project in the recent years in our design center. And of course, Revuelto is a car that is having a big impact. So we wanted to create a car that is a show itself when it's driving around. Super recognizable immediately, like a Lamborghini, the silhouette, but you can recognize this car because maybe, I don't know, the guitar, we have this Y-shaped guitar in the front and in the rear. So, in the end of the day, we have maybe here a little bit rock and roll inside because there's this Y shape, and like this, also here, I mean, this is maybe the connection for sure with music and with albums in general, with album art. We want to create always something that is recognizable from far away. And then, of course, it is not an effect that I want to have just for now, for like a trend. I want to have something that is timeless. Yeah, and that is, let's say, always something that I'm aiming for in terms of design, something that is a true Lamborghini, that is opening the door to the next generation, and it is integrating elements that are definitely the Revuelto.
Is this something you can perceive from the sketches or from the actual car, Simon? You as a non-car guy.
Well, I've got to tell you, I've been here today with my 12-year-old son, and he knows the name of every Lamborghini as we're going through the museum. And I think for kids that look at this, the cars are inspirational. And I think even if he's not going to become a car designer, I think what he sees in these will inspire them to achieve the best at what they want to achieve. They see this as something, it's more than iconic in a way, and that it's the benchmark of something that's great. And I think for them to be immersed in it at that age and be, and have that knowledge, I didn't, no disrespect, but I didn't know the name of all these models, and he's going around telling me each individual one. And I was like, wow, okay, this is, and I think if you can have that impact on someone at that age, especially when they've got so much to kind of occupy them and to kind of try and catch their eye, I think that's an amazing, amazing achievement. And I think that's above and beyond anything else.
That's a nice compliment.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the children thing is something that is always also motivating me. I tested this some years ago with a concept car that was called Terzo Millennio. And we did the same experiment this time also with the Revuelto. So we took the cars in front of a school here very close to Sant'Agata Bolognese. And, children, the reaction of children is unexpected. Also they can maybe not like the things. Yeah. So we've brought the Revuelto, and we unveiled it in front of a class, and they were going crazy. They were going, of course, Italian crazy, but but I do believe they would go the same crazy in front of every school in the world on this planet, because a Lamborghini is outstanding. A Lamborghini is also motivating. It is inspiring. It is like a spaceship that landed in front of that school, and it's for sure something in the daily life that is sometimes boring and sometimes a bit dismotivating. A Lamborghini is for sure by the shape, by the colors, by all it represents, something that is motivating to go forward.
And what about AI, artificial intelligence, its role in designing, in your opinion?
Artificial intelligence, we need to see, because the speed that those systems have is unbelievable. Yeah? I personally, today, 23rd of October 2023, I believe that anything, art, cars, design, whatever, it has to be created from a human being. Because
sorry to interrupt, but I don't think AI, it may have many things, but it doesn't have the passion. And if you can't have that, as that's the flame, isn't it? That pushes you forward to create. And I think just being able to take things and copy things from many different things and come up, what is it, that expression? You build a horse by committee, you end up with a camel. Exactly. And so I think you've got to have a vision and you've got to have passion, and I think that can't be replicated yet. And I hope it's never replicated, because that has to be the human touch.
I hope so. I mean, I hope we are right with our opinion. I think today all of this is a threat for any photographer, for any designer, for anyone that is creative, also for music. Basically, you can say, "Give me the voice of Michael Jackson, give me the same kind of beat," and the system will create to you a new album, and you say, sounds like, yeah. So it is a bit scaring, I have to say. In terms of design, you can say, I want such a limousine with this blah 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 kind of design, until it will generate something. Yeah. So if it is having a soul, if it will have something unique, I don't know. I hope so. That it will not have, but no one knows. So it is just a starting point where we are today, and it can motivate you, but it could also scare you at the same time.
So if it's not AI, if it's not artificial intelligence, what's the future like? What's the future of album cover design? What's the future of car design?
Well, we touched on it a little earlier. Album covers are kind of making a comeback and making their mark again, but I don't think they'll ever be as important as they were, because it's not a source of information anymore in the way that a album cover was, when I was growing up, because that was your kind of conduit and your link to the band, or your connection with the band. How that goes in the future, I don't know. I think there are artists that do feel strongly about the way they present themselves, but it is kind of more about the way they present themselves visually, personally, rather than a kind of story that they wish to tell. Because many people would say that the album's dead anyway, that people put a collection of songs together and it's the first 3 that are the singles and that's that, but not in the traditional album that has 2 sides and a beginning, middle and an end, and an album that's crafted and in such a way that the tracks are compiled by an artist in such a way that they want them to fall in a particular way. Now it's just kind of like the 3-4 singles and the rest are fillers for the most part. So
and
I think
the EP.
Yeah.
But the good thing is still the shows, the concerts. I think this is where you consume music today, and that I personally also like a lot to go to see the shows. In terms of car design, of course there will always be something new. Yeah? Again, I'm very optimistic person, so for sure new technologies like 3D printing and in general the technology that we are using will get us forward. Yeah? So therefore. I can only say to all my design colleagues, we always need to find new ideas, diverse ideas, because I think the dream, of the car that is getting you freedom and the freedom to move. Is still ongoing, and of course the traffic is a challenge here and there, and I think here also the designer has a big important job to do to solve those topics. But in car design, of course, whoever is designing a car needs to stick to the DNA of his brand, needs to create an identity where you can identify from far away your brand. Here in Lamborghini, you can always stay tuned because we always try to work on a Lamborghini that is exciting again, something that our fans and the customer that like our car wants to put into their collection. And of course, we will do in the future a design. I call it essential and iconic. That will always bring something, unexpected to Lamborghini.
That's so cool. Guys, thank you so much for being with us.
No, thank you. Thank you for
it's been an
this
absolute
fantastic
pleasure.
opportunity to speak.
Absolute pleasure, yeah.
Not only about cars, also about our passion, music. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this month's episode.
New episodes will continue to land monthly on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Lamborghini.com.
Please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts for more extraordinary journeys into the beyond. My name is Tim Bravo.
I'm Giulia Salvi, and this is Beyond, a Lamborghini podcast.